Hi everyone. Hi Wendy. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Wendy, I'm doing good. Friday, almost noon. So trying to wrap up the week. It has been a fantastic week. I hope it has been a good week for you too.
It's been a great week. Yeah, I'm glad it's Friday, and yeah.
All of us are glad it's Friday. Yes. So, quick introduction about Wendy. Who's Wendy? She's got a very similar background as of mine. She comes from the big banks, the Fortune hundreds of the world. So Wendy is a CMO of Elevations Credit Union. She has a extensive background in financial services, right? So Wendy has started her career almost more than 2 decades back, interestingly in the investment banking arena or circuit, right? Started her career with Morgan Stanley, moved to Schwab, had spent a few years in BlackRock. Interestingly, she was into strategy, right? But her movement from strategy to marketing is very similar to what I have done, from data science to growth. So I can very well relate to Wendy's transition, I would say. So while at BlackRock, she fell in love with marketing, and she moved to Texas, right? While moving to Texas, she wanted to move to a more broader marketing role. So that's the time Wendy joined the credit union movement altogether, right? And since then, she's loved it. She's never left the credit union ecosystem, and she plans to stay there forever, right? Right now, her role, I would say a broad one, encompassing, I would say, three different pillars, is what I understand. Definitely, one is leading end-to-end marketing strategy, orchestration, execution, building marketing machinery from ground up, I would say, by elevations. One is marketing. Second is product development, product strategy. Third is community outreach. So anything that's member facing, anything that's facing and talking about value proposition, Wendy is a forerunner, I would say, for Elevations Credit Union. Uh, I hope, Wendy, this is, I mean, I've done justice to what to your introduction, because at times I don't do justice and people come back to, and I was like, okay, I might have missed a couple of points. In case I have, chip in.
No, that's a great introduction. I appreciate it. That definitely encompasses everything I've done. I always say I wish I would have found credit unions earlier in my career, but the experience I had in the investment world at Morgan Stanley, at BlackRock, and at Charles Schwab was so invaluable to really set me up for success to enter the credit union industry. So both industries have been so fun to be able to be a part of, and yeah, I've loved every minute of it.
Sounds good, Wendy. One obviously burning question I think not only me, a lot of people will have, right? Moving from the investment banking world to credit union, that's not a very predictable move. That's a very, very, I would say, I mean, I'm just, I don't even have a word to describe that, right? A movement from investment banking to credit union, it's very different, right? I mean, it's very rare that I found people doing it, right? So, what motivated you, Wendy, to join the movement? I mean, what made you actual passionate about credit unions?
I think for me, the shift from investment, from the investment world to credit unions is very different. But for me, it's the community and the value system that credit unions possess. Credit unions serve underserved markets. They also serve affluent markets. They're such a cornerstone in the communities that they serve, whether they're serving within a city or a state or even multiple states. And so that value system and that community aspect are really, really critical to me. And I was at a point in my career where that was important and important to be a part of. And I've just had it's been incredible to be all the credit unions I've been at have done amazing work in the community and have really held strong to their values and their cultures too. I would say cultures at credit unions are crafted in a way that are very unique and very strong. Elevations has by far probably the strongest culture I've ever been at, and it played an important role in my decision to move and be at the credit union. So it's been nice.
That's a very well framed answer, Wendy. And if I were to ask you to discuss about your journey, right? I mean, about your journey to leadership. I mean, you're an analyst back there at Schwab, moving over here as CMO down the line. You moved to C-level of credit unions a few years back. So, what has been your journey throughout, and what are the typical challenges that you've faced throughout your career, be it before credit unions and now with credit unions? Definitely, it's not a bed of roses, right? Every single day, you have to face challenges, be it being a female leader, or in general, right? So, if you want to discuss about your journey and challenges, I mean, I have 1,000 challenges, right? I don't want to put that across, but I want to understand more from you.
Yeah, for me, when I left the investment industry, that was the first time I took on a true marketing role. And I was a director of marketing actually for a commercial construction firm in San Francisco. So it was a great role for me to really cut my teeth and understand how to manage all facets of marketing, both business development, traditional marketing. At that point in time, social media was just in its infancy. So I got to do some really interesting things in that arena. And it was just an amazing opportunity to learn about an industry that I hadn't been in. When I moved from California to Texas is when I discovered an opportunity at Generations Federal Credit Union. And that was a VP of marketing role, much larger, and was an incredible organization, and I accomplished a lot there. And then I moved into a role for another Texas-based credit union where I led retail, marketing, and facilities. And that was really the first time in my career where I couldn't just jump in and I worked alongside my team, but I had to really learn about how to delegate because I had probably over 200 people reporting to me.
Yep.
And trusting that leadership team and empowering them to function and to take day-to-day management. So that was an incredible learning lesson for me and really great. And then I moved to a credit union in the Northeast, which was very, very different from any other credit union I had been in the Texas market. This credit union credit union has operations in Germany, in the Northeast. They serve
Wow.
military members and consumers. So very, very different. And I learned a lot about how to serve military service members and their families. And that was a pretty incredible journey. And then that led me to accepting a chief marketing officer role where I'm today at Elevations Credit Union here in Colorado. And I've been at Elevations just coming up on 2 years this December, and that's been really incredible and different too. A different business model and strength in mortgages and commercial, and then now we're building our consumer muscle. So we have a lot of really incredible activities for 2025. So I think I would also say, challenges. I've always been in financial services. Even when I was in college, I worked at a bank as a teller, male-dominated industry, and it's been refreshing to see more females move into CEO roles at credit unions, and to also see more women in CFO roles in the credit union industry, and just see them move into that C-suite.
Absolutely.
I think, chief marketing officers have been a traditionally female role. It's definitely a lot more balanced now. And I think financial services, as a female leader, you need to own your voice, have a place at the table. Don't be shy to give your opinion. And I've been, super fortunate, even in the investment world and in the credit union world. I've worked for some incredible male and female leaders, and I've been at organizations that have been very inclusive and have allowed me to move through my career and progress. But I think I see other women in the industry and even outside of the industry who sometimes don't possess that confidence that you need, and you really need to have that confidence to be able to speak up. Um, and I think that's a critical ingredient for any female, whether you're in a leadership role or not in a
Yep.
leadership role.
Yep.
And so I would just say that that was a big lesson for me early on in my
Hmm.
career.
Hmm. I mean, Wendy, I could find, two of your points are music to me. One is you need to speak up, right? I mean, again, an experience, right? That you might think that you're not the smartest in the room, but you never know the average IQ of the people around you, right? So
Right.
I think that's what I've been following for years now. I was a very introvert kid back there in school. When I came to consulting, I think this was my first lesson that I had at Accenture. Always speak up. It doesn't matter, right? You don't know the person in front of you. Again, to your perspective, when you came to the credit union ecosystem, right? You might have thought that I came from the investment world. Will I know a lot of things in credit unions? But you didn't actually think about that, right? You did raise your voice. You did change close to five roles right now, four plus credit unions. This wouldn't have been possible without, again, speaking your mind out and expressing yourself that this is what I think, and this is what my perspective is. This is great. Second, another thing which I want to maybe connect with you later on is that you told me at some point of time that you are a team of 200 at some point of your career, right? Now, managing a team of 200 is not easy. I asked my boss, right? He has a team of around 3,000. So I asked him that how do you even think about managing a team of 3,000, right? Firstly, performance appraisal, creating tracks of growth. It's really not easy. It's very difficult. So I had that same question for you, right? Since you had, you have such a huge team. You had such a huge team earlier. Again, I believe, Andy, leading a team without EQ, without empathy is not possible. Leading such a big team is not possible, right? Do you have any specific philosophy that you did follow from your initial days and that still sticks on to you till today, being a female or being a leader in the credit union ecosystem? If you can talk
Yeah.
about a few principles, it will be great.
Yeah, so I think, for me, I always sort of focus on the basics.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you need to work hard and play hard. I also think you need to live in the present, right? I think people should become a subject matter expert in everything they do.
Uh,
And it's so important to adopt a curious mindset and always be learning, because business is always changing, the world is changing, and that curiosity and that ability to learn has made me very successful throughout my career. And I learned very early on from another leader I reported to that's a critical ingredient. I always say, sit in the front of the room, ask questions, dress for success. And it's so important to send thank you notes. You can do it digitally if you have time, and you can write a handwritten thank you note or a card. That speaks volumes to you're spending some time appreciating what that person has done, and just spending those small efforts make such a big difference for people, whether they're a peer, an employee, or somebody that you're working with within your industry. I'm very much about servant leadership, and I think the most incredible, I think for me, the most rewarding thing for me is helping others develop. So whether they're working on my team or even outside of my team, having a part in somebody's career journey and helping them and seeing them grow and evolve is, I think, the most rewarding thing I do as a leader. And that's I feel like that's my role. That's really why I'm here.
Absolutely, Wendy. That's so much important. The example you talked about is sharing appreciation mails, notes. You won't believe me the length to which that goes. I still remember of an incident, Wendy, 4 years back. I had this kid from campus, right? I mean, he was very not confident, a kid joining 21, right? But what I did, almost every alternate month, I did write a appreciation note to him, right? And technically, I was his manager. You won't believe me, in the next 2 years, he, today he works for Wells Fargo as a vice president. I mean, he's done so great for himself. I'm so proud because he could get that extra push of confidence that yes, Anurag trusts me. I can do this, right? And it's, I mean, we were just chatting the other day, and he explicitly mentioned that those thank you notes, those appreciation notes, made me work even harder and be focused towards my goal. And this is, and I strongly believe that this should be a practice in servant leadership, that you should actually appreciate people who are working with you, not working for you, right? So this is very important, and I'm glad that we share the same philosophy. This is great. uh, do you have any tips and advice for young, I would say, aspiring female leaders? Again, you talked about that CMO has always been possibly a female dominated role, but again, I was talking to a CFO a few days back of a credit union, Hina Khalid. She's a very close friend. She's CFO of Labour Credit Union. She was telling me in a conference that she went where there were all CFOs. I think there were 2 women per 100 men, or 98 men that she saw. That was overwhelming for her, right? So, as a women leader in the movement, right? Do you have any, I would say, advice, or for specifically for women leaders that you've seen, across your journey?
I think, never be, I said this earlier, you've got to be able to have a voice and state your opinion. And if you're walking into a room that's mainly all men, I mean, you're there for a reason, and so you need to do whatever you're going to do there. I think it's you having that confidence and building confidence in yourself goes miles for anybody in leadership, especially for women. I always tell young female leaders too that practicing presentation, doing public speaking events, that's something that I did early in my career, and it built an incredible amount of confidence for me and just made me feel so much better about whether I was presenting in a meeting or presenting to a group of individuals. It just gave me an edge up that I didn't have before I did that. And it can be scary, having to present in front of a lot of people, or if you're presenting to a lot of, in my role, I'm presenting to a board of directors, or I'm presenting to a leadership team, and it is it's mainly male, and so you've got to practice and get comfortable with what you're there to say. I always tell everybody, relationship building is so critical. So if you're building
Yes.
relationships at the organization that you're working with or working at, and then you're building relationships outside of your company, you're going to have such a nice network of people, and it's so critical to getting work done. It's easier to get work done with people that you know and that you've broken bread with
Yep,
versus,
that's very
right,
important.
people that you don't know. The other thing
Absolutely.
I always tell women too is get a mentor. You need to have a mentor, whether they sit inside your organization or outside of your organization. They don't even have to be in your industry, but having that person that you can talk to on an ongoing basis and share some of, these are issues I'm having, and this is, the next big thing that I want to do, and getting that advice is really, really important. I think the other two things I would say is you're not your job. So have a passion outside of what you do.
Yep.
It's really important to turn off work and do something that's entirely not related to your job.
Yep.
And you've got to love what you do, because when you love what you do, you have a passion that you bring to your role, and people see that, and that also just creates energy that that you can't really match, because when you
Yep.
love what you do, you're just you accomplish a lot. So those would be my that would be
Absolutely.
my advice.
Absolutely. I mean, again, everyone I meet asks me one single question that don't you get tired working? Don't you get tired traveling 70% of the time? I mean, my common templated response is that I don't do anything that I don't love. Firstly, if you love doing what you're doing, and second, I think I personally feel that attaching yourself to a purpose, right? I cannot be another consultant who wants to make sense out of data and wants to serve members, right? I should have a purpose to life that I genuinely want with all true essence to help credit unions succeed, right? That purpose should be very clear from the starting itself. I've changed multiple careers, worked for Fortune 100s, 500s, and then finally decided to work for credit unions and community banks because I strongly believe in this, right? I think what you talked about that very much aligns to even the way how I think. So this is very insightful, right, Wendy? Uh, Now let's deep dive onto what you're doing right now. I know that you're building a machinery at elevations, and that's quite an interesting thing that you're doing because with a focus in commercial, now you are focusing on consumer, right? Turbocharging the consumer banking, for the lack of better words, right? Still not a bank, but still turbocharging the consumer banking portfolio for elevations. Uh, so if you want to talk about how does a day look like, or maybe a few interesting things that you're doing over there, uh, we would love to learn more about that.
So we're working right now. We've rolled some of it out, and then we'll finish at the end of the year. But we want to reach uh, consumers in the community who don't have a traditional background. They might have immigrated to the U.S., and so we're offering I-10 lending to the community in which we operate. We're about to roll out mortgages. We've finished checking, auto, and credit card, and then mortgages will come next. And that's been so rewarding to reach people who, they're just getting going here. And so I'm excited to see how that evolves and how we reach a wider community there. The other big thing that we have going into 2025 is just building our digital prowess. So we
Yes.
implemented Alchemy, which is our online banking provider this year. Next year, we're rebuilding our website. We're also bringing in a new platform for digital account opening. And in the marketing world, we're deploying much more sophisticated next year segmentation capabilities and providing the marketing team with the ability to self-serve data and to be much more nimble in how they operate. So all of that combined next year will give marketing and the organization just a lot of power, what I would say, a lot of horsepower. And then we even in addition to what we're doing with fintechs and what we do digitally, we still do look at a location expansion. So we're always looking to expand from a retail perspective, and that gives us another way to get in front of a different community that we might not be serving today. So that's kind of in our strategic roadmap. And then the other big thing that the organization is doing and that I'm also doing within the marketing function is learning as much as I can about AI and how can we use AI within marketing to become better, more efficient. How do we deploy, whether it's technology or just simple things like RPA, where we're using that technology today to take tasks that took hours and weeks, and now they take minutes, and then it gives people on my team the ability to do more critical thinking. So I'm really hungry to learn as much as I can about AI and figure out how we can deploy it and what we can do. So I think that's going to be fun. I'm really anxious about that. And the other big thing that we're doing is just building. Elevations has an incredibly strong brand, incredible reputation in the community, but we're always looking to strengthen that. So in this world of technology and digital, The things that I would tell you that are so important for credit unions is brand and community, and those two things combined are so important. And so we're always doing something in that brand area to build upon how we tell our story, how we reach people in a more human way, and just how we differentiate ourselves. And Colorado is a pretty competitive market. We've got big box players. We have very successful credit unions here, and people love to come to Colorado too. So we have people moving here, and so how do we reach those consumers and tell our story in a way that attracts them, and that they end up with us and they stay with us too, right? Because it's not just about attracting people, it's also keeping them and helping them along their financial journey.
So, if I want to wrap up, I find two broad themes, right? One is finding or serving members where they are, right? That's basic. Obviously your target is not always Gen Z or millennials, but still, investing on digital is something you'll reap benefits for the next 10 years. And if you do not do this, it's difficult. I sound like a broken record, but today I can go to Chime and open an account in 3.5 minutes, right? I can go to Robinhood for robo-advisor, right? So it's all digital. As per Ron Shevlin, an average US consumer has around 21 financial relationships. So gone are the days of PFIs, right? There are no more PFIs that are there, that do exist. And plus, if you do not serve what a member needs, then God helps us, right? So I'm very glad and happy that to know that you've got Alchemy. They are a fantastic group of people. I hope they'll help you turbocharge and again make consumer experience way smoother, and that will help you grow. That's one. And second, I'm also excited to know, maybe after the podcast, is what are your 2 cents on using data and AI on actual hyper personalization? Because at the end of the day, it's like it will be a well-oiled machinery when you have the right set of consumers coming in who are, it's not selling it to them, but serving the right set of members with the right set of product, right? Hyper personalization followed by that experience, right? When you marry both of them, magic happens. After that, again, keeping those members to you. Retention is a very important metric that I at times feel is very underrated, right? People don't talk about retention a lot. People talk about acquisition. That's also something which I'm looking at. I'm really glad that Elevation has a leader like you who's thinking across the life cycle. This is great. I know, Wendy, we are almost on top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I want to ask one last question. So this is my first podcast after the rates did go down, right? Honestly, I expected around a 25 basis point reduction, but it's 50 now. Good news, right? Lending will splurge. The ecosystem will change. So what do you think is the future of the credit union ecosystem altogether with this diverse or this alien a macroeconomic condition right now? Things are changing for better, but still, how do you think is it evolving?
Well, I think we'll probably see, if I put my economist hat on, I think we will see some reduction in interest rates in 2025, which will open up lending in a much bigger way. I think I do believe that's going to happen. I think that credit unions have to play a very balanced role. You need new members in the door. You have to always be building deposits. Deposits is a critical ingredient in the success of your business model. And lending is a place where credit unions play very well. But there is a war for deposits, and so getting that digital experience from an account opening perspective and making it happen in minutes, appealing to a younger audience. We do a lot here in Colorado with university, CU, Colorado University at Boulder, and we're getting in front of younger consumers there, but also alumni, faculty, staff. But you've got to have that digital piece because that's where everybody is, and it's really on your phone. We do have consumers that come in to see us, and all credit unions have that. But I think And I think fintech partnerships are an incredible opportunity for credit unions to adopt that technology and not have to build it, and to become innovative and to learn from fintechs is really, really important to the future success of all credit unions. So I think fintechs are, they're constantly evolving, and I've always enjoyed all my work, whether they're large fintechs or small fintechs. I always end up learning something. So I think that getting in the fintech lane is important, and also being open to learning about AI and taking the data and doing personalization that you mentioned. I believe, in the very distant future, and it's not really far, we're not that far from this, is it's one-to-one. In the future, it's all one-to-one. And so that requires incredible scale, data, and technology that can really empower that type of outreach. So I'm excited to see all of that and learn as we go through our journey at Elevations.
Sounds good, Wendy. This was a great chat. I again want to be respectful of the time, though I want to talk to you for another half an hour. There are so many ideas to talk about, but this is really interesting. Wendy, again, thanks a lot for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Arag. Have a great day. Thanks for
You
having
too.
me. Appreciate it. Bye.
Absolutely. Bye.